YNW Melly's case dismissal situation is heating up. Today it was announced Melly's lawyer Benjamin is requesting the removal of Christine Bradley in the state attorney office from YNW Melly's trial, based on various Brady violations filed last week. Christine Bradley is the lead prosecutor that is against YNW Melly. As it continues, in the motion, Benjamin shares that Christine Bradley and other witnesses now will have their testimony contradicted by one of their own in Michelle, set to testify during the retrial, which will not look good for the state attorney's office in the public eye. As on page 4, Benjamin advises that Bradley's continued counsel in the trial violates Melly's due process rights guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. This is why YNW Melly is paying millions of dollars for his lawyers. This is intense as Melly's chances of release is now very high, due to his rights being violated as explained here.
Have added Christine Bradley, the prosecutor herself, to the witness list, and 5 other attorneys from the state attorney's office who they say knew about this situation. That's 7 attorneys from the state attorney's office. Because of this, Melly's attorneys are saying keeping Christine Bradley and this state attorney's office on this case is not only a conflict of interest, it's actually a violation of Melly's right to due process, which is a part of the 14th Amendment.
As stated by Bryson Paul on Twitter, the ask is the defense asking the judge to dismiss the indictment altogether, which would mean YNW Melly would no longer face these double charges. If double jeopardy has attached, if the judge grants the motion, he will go home. Now, this is all due to Mark Moretti versus Melly's mother, as explained here.
So Melly's team is saying they just found out in August, like last month, that Detective Moretti was under investigation for an incident involving use of excessive force against a potential witness. And that witness is Jamie King, aka Melly's mom. According to this motion, Detective Moretti, Jamie King, and 3 other people, including a Broward Sheriff's Office sergeant, were in a conference room when Moretti was taking Jamie's statement. At some point during taking that statement, the sergeant in the room steps out. And during that time, it's alleged that Detective Moretti executed a search warrant, which he didn't have the ability to do, and forcibly took the phone from Jamie King. And then when another sergeant came to the conference room, Detective Moretti told that sergeant to say that he was in the room the whole time when the phone was taken. From there, it's alleged that Moretti and the state attorney's office were willing to lie to cover this entire situation up.
To understand this fully, we have to dive deep into why Jamie King filed this complaint, as what you are witnessing is YNW Melly's last chance of ever being released. This week, Melly's bail request was denied, and the judge said something very concerning. The court hearing began with the judge speaking to Melly's lawyers and the prosecution.
State of Florida versus Devins, President Lieutenant Devins is counsel, which is the state attorney. Yes, so you're indicating you want me to roll this for sometime next week?
Yes, for a counter call for Wednesday before it's available.
And if that's fine, just want to remind defense counsel that trial in this courtroom, so we won't have a lot of time.
It should take 2 seconds.
Okay.
Thank
Put it
you.
up for Wednesday, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Right.
As the camera cuts off right when the judge would announce his bond is being denied, thankfully Bryson Paul was inside of the courtroom and would report for us, Judge Murphy has officially denied bail leading into his retrial, which begins jury selection on October 9th. In an official order, Judge Murphy issued the following. After careful consideration, this court finds that the state has met its burden of demonstrating the proof of guilt is evident and the presumption of guilt is great. The jurors' inability to reach a unanimous verdict does not alter the nature or weight of the evidence of the defendant's guilt, as Judge Murphy himself believes that YNW Melly is 100% guilty. The only way of him beating this case now is trying to get Christine Bradley, the lead prosecutor, and Mark Moretti off of this court case, leading into the case being dismissed. As the strangest part was, when YNW Melly's bail was denied, Melly did not even care. He He stood up and then walked straight out of the courtroom with a huge smile on his face, as his mom knew she had this backup plan. As Jamie King would then later post to her Instagram, "Nothing will stop my faith, not even this, bond was denied." However, the most interesting part was found through an amazing source who would notice that YNW Bortland was attending Melly's hearing.
And the second thing is YNW Bortland attended today's hearing via Zoom. You see him right there. Which a few weeks ago, the question was raised if Melly's retrial in October would include YNW Bortland. And this is making me think that it will. So we'll see what happens.
Which raises the question of, is Melly and Bortland going to be getting tried together in his upcoming retrial? This would be a terrible thing for YNW Melly. However, it's seeming as if Melly might not even be going to his retrial.
Issue here, and you can try them together. It is to the benefit of the state to try them together. It's just more efficient. You don't have to do things again and again. Do it all at once, and also you get a better chance of having them incriminate each other during the trial. It benefits the defense to sever it. That way they can point the finger at each other and get away with it. So this is what's going on. But I don't think it should be automatically severed because the state is seeking a penalty for Melly, because it's only the penalty phase of the trial that would be different, not the guilt phase. The guilt phase is the same. They're both capital crimes. You're seeking the penalty on one, not the other, but that goes into the second part of the trial, the penalty phase, only if Melly is found guilty.
However, Melly and Bortland being tried together would connect a lot of dots and mysteries that are going on, as it would now make a lot of sense as to why YNW Melly fired his original lawyer, being David Howard. David Howard, during Melly's original trial, was trying to put all of the evidence against YNW Bortland. Bortland did not appreciate or like what he was doing at all. An example of this was 15 minutes into day one of Melly's trial, David Howard would say this about Bortland.
Emmons' lies, those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with two bodies, a car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones.
As that is David Howard saying to the jury that it was YNW Bortland that was lying to the feds. He was the one with powder residue on his hands, referencing that he used a firearm, and that he was the last one with Sack Chaser and Juvie when they sadly passed. You can almost look at it as David Howard was snitching on YNW Bortland, as Howard even brought up a forensic scientist that covered the passings to go into further detail about Bortland having the powder residue on his hands.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of powder residue and 2 component particles, and the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of powder residue and 1 2-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was powder residue present on the hands.
As evidence backing the claim of Bortland not liking this at all, when YNW Melly's mistrial was granted, Bortland would go on and tweet a mysterious message on the same day. The tweet would share, "Mind games don't work on people like me," alongside a handshake emoji as if he's accepting some sort of deal. So them being tried together would be extremely interesting, especially when you look into why YNW Melly was truly denied his bail. It all began with YNW Juvie's mother telling the judge why YNW Melly should not receive a bond out of jail until his retrial is done.
Ms. Phillips, you were the mother of Christopher Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are your thoughts or opinion on Jamel Demons receiving a bond in the of your son?
I don't think he should receive a bond, but I do know that he's innocent until proven guilty. But these are some serious accusations against him. So, and I understand he has money and don't want anything, nothing to happen to me or my family. So I don't think that he should be granted a bond at all.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips.
Well,
It's hard to hear what she said, but she would state, and I quote, "I do not think he should receive a bond. I do know that he is innocent until proven guilty. However, there are serious accusations against him and he has money. I don't want anything to happen to me or my family. I don't think that he should receive a bond at all." To which YNW Melly's lawyer would then look kinda weak in objecting to what she said.
I have, again, I would object to court even considering the statements of people that even the state has no idea where they are. We have, as I brought up several times, prior to the trial, during the trial, we have attempted to subpoena those people for deposition numerous times, most of them. There's a material witness bond as we speak on Mariah Hamilton. They don't know where she is.
As YNW Melly's lawyer, his main objection was that YNW Melly does not know where these witnesses live or the family members of Juvie and Sack Chaser. However, this really made me think, why would YNW Melly want revenge against these witnesses and Juvie's family members? And it made me realize, if you remember what these witnesses did to YNW Melly's mother during trial, it actually makes sense as to why he would want revenge. As YNW Juvie's sister reached out to Jamie King on social media during the trial.
What's been going on in the courtroom?
Well, Anjanette, it's been a very interesting morning. It did start off earlier with the defense bringing up an issue. Apparently, Juvie's sister posted on, I guess, one of the social media outlets, and she said that she was going to Jamie King, and so that caused a big, issue in the courtroom. It wasn't anything that we got on tape, but it did happen this morning. It was on the record, and she has a bodyguard now, so that was one of the first issues that the court dealt with this morning. And it was interesting because the judge did basically say, if you needed more security, I can get it for you. Ultimately, it was determined that the security she had, the bodyguard, was going to be enough. So
shout out to Reddit, because we had to do some digging to find the sister. Now, this is the sister, Ashley Monique. And let me show you the post that she had posted on Facebook, because, honey, it was quite the stir. So she posted this screenshot from Jamie King, YNW Melly's mother, and she said, "Pest control, who called about?" Now, that was in regards to a post made by Trayvon Glass on his Instagram page, where he basically said that he's not worried about anything, and if he's come extend him. So in a nutshell, Melly's mom is calling Trayvon Glass a, and Monique replied back and says, "A is when you do something wrong and not take responsibility and then go and set somebody up because you're scared to lay down." She goes on to say, "That's not the case here. Fetty was Juvie's friend, not Melly. He was only around because Juvie brought him." Now in the comments, somebody says she better find something safe to do. Another person replied back and says, "Very well said." Another person tagged Jamie, and somebody else said, "Come get." Now Ashley was in the comments and says, "She even has a bodyguard, child." Another person replied and says, "Yeah, she need one because she's talking like she's 200 pounds and she ain't even pushing 100. Now somebody else posted this and says she's going to need them because she in the wrong city talking. Now, I think that when Melly's defense attorneys found this, they submitted it over to the judge and basically was like, Juvie's sister's out here Melly's mom. Now, the judge did state that if Melly's mom needed security, he would issue her security, and then he found out that she had a bodyguard, and that would be sufficient enough.
As this made YNW Melly extremely angry inside of the courtroom, you would even see YNW Melly one day asking his mother if she's okay during trial.
Sorry.
We'll just. Don't do it. That's it.
As the following day, YNW Melly made his lawyers put a request in for Jamie King to have 24/7 security with her at all times. It got that bad. It even got to the point where Boosie would share how bad of a situation this truly was.
Okay, so
then I met his mama while he was in.
Oh, okay.
I met his mom while he was in, and she real, bro. You know, she real.
She's stressed out. I heard she had a.
Yeah, she real, and I reached my hand out to him, cause I'm real. Yeah, I reached out to him, bro. I met his mom, and she a good woman, bro. And when I see them mamas like that, it remind me of what my mom was going through, bro.
As I can definitely see a reason why YNW Melly would want some sort of revenge against these witnesses. And as of right now, all signs are actually pointing towards YNW Melly being released shortly. The only negative evidence against Melly is starting with Sergeant Williams that would reveal there is no way this could have been a drive-by.
Assignment, which is to determine if this is a drive. And my determination was that this is not a drive-by. And it's based upon this picture here, which is a very good picture to describe it. All of these rounds are done. One is done at a stationary position. At a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in. The one round that has some movement in it, which is round site L here. The actually moving in that to create the little bit of a that you see there.
Okay, a lot of information in that answer, so let's break it down a little bit. You mentioned so I'm gonna zoom in on site F. Number, you said 17 outside the car. How many rounds were inside of the car?
3.
And can you exclude the for Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas is coming from outside of the car?
Yes. From the driver's side back seat.
As to the shot that was Christopher Thomas, where did that come from?
Driver's side back seat.
Okay. Is it possible for there to have been 2 inside that car?
No.
Why not?
There is no time.
As with Williams guaranteeing the crime must have happened from somebody inside of the vehicle, sitting in the back left seat, the state then called YNW Juvie's mother to the stand to confirm where YNW Melly was seated.
Can you state your name, your full legal name for the jury?
Leon Phillips.
Okay. And are you related to one of the victims in this case?
Yes, I am.
How so?
I'm his mother.
And who is that?
Christopher Thomas.
Pause it at 2:19:15. Ms. Phillips, did you see who entered into the occupants who entered into that gray Jeep?
Mm-hmm.
And is that a yes?
Yes.
Do you recognize where your son entered that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Which seat, if you can identify for the jury?
He got in the back seat on the right hand side.
Did you recognize the individual that got into the back seat on the left side, the rear driver's side?
Yes.
And who was that individual?
Jamel.
And Jamel, is that the defendant, Jamel Demons?
Yes, ma'am.
So with the jury now hearing the crime must have happened from somebody sitting where YNW Melly was, we would then even see YNW Juvie's father reveal that he believed YNW Melly was guilty since the beginning.
From the day one, I believe that Melly was responsible for my son on October 26th when I first heard the story, because his explanation when I finally talked to him in Cortland on a FaceTime, their response and how they was reacting, they showed no remorse. They didn't act like they was grieving, like they lost a best friend or nothing. They was, in my opinion, they was in the best spirits. They wasn't reacting to, they act like they didn't have to take a loss at all. That's how I took it. And then when I was talking to them, I still had in the back of my mind that something's not right.